Hello guys, this is actually my second attempt to record this video, even though it's getting easier to record a little bit more often. And perhaps you've noticed that the ones who follows me on Instagram, that I've started posting to Instagram a little bit more frequently. It is because my son is now nearly 2.5 years. Woohoo! Growing healthy and just being wonderful, and it just makes it easy for me to take care of my little channel, which I would so much like to grow, because I do love being present and recording and sharing my thoughts on this wonderful platform that YouTube is. I just love broadcasting myself. So I would like to mention a couple of things before I go to my main subject. Perhaps first one was actually about posting to Instagram more often and not only to YouTube. Second one is, perhaps you've noticed that I tend to wear sort of unique and quirky, as British would say, quirky, funky pieces of clothing or jewelry. And that's because I love vintage shopping. And by vintage shopping, I mean not this fancy designer vintage shopping. That very much on occasion, if I have a luck to find something inexpensive. I rather mean the very just a very regular vintage shopping in secondhand stores or in Value Village. And I was wondering that if you guys are interested in seeing perhaps a fall lookbook, I would be more than happy to prepare it and post it for you guys on YouTube or Instagram, or perhaps both. So just let me know in the comments. Now, the main subject I would like to talk about was actually inspired by this YouTuber, lovely YouTuber lady, whose name is Morgan Joyce. I just discovered her lately and I subscribed to her channel. And what she does, she's mostly known for her passion for tattoos in that whole and for beauty and makeup looks and so on and so forth, but mostly tattoos. This whole scene seems to be her background, and lately she recorded a very honest and beautiful episode when she speaks about certain regrets about her tattoos, not so much for having them, but certain subjects that her tattoos represent, or placement of the tattoos. Essentially, she speaks how it feels to have the body covered with tattoo art and wear it for certain longer amount of time. Again, her name is Morgan Joyce, and I highly recommend her channel and that episode specifically. Now, why I'm bringing it up? Because what she says really triggered me to the following topic. She says that since her body became covered in tattoos, every time, say, strangers on the streets or in the public places speak to her, all they talk to her about is her tattoos. No other aspect of her personality is being an option for the conversation, is being mentioned. No other subject is sort of pursued and continued by strangers. Guys, for last 10 years of living in Canada, at first at its beautiful West Coast in Vancouver, and even more so in Toronto, all that people talk to me about is my ethnics, my nationality. That's all. and I have so much more to share. And even when I'm trying to change the subject of that conversation, they always get back to talking about how they know a Polish, or they had a Polish grandfather, or they know this and that Polish word like dziękuję, meaning which is thank you, and how they visited Eastern Europe, which Poland actually is Central Europe. It really is, if you look at the map of Europe. And I just don't want to talk about it any longer. And they get so offended when I kind of drift away that subject, or I finish the conversation. Because in reality, in Canada, all they really want to do is put me in the box in their mind called immigrant, Polish, female. That's it. And then there is this idiom that I lately discovered called immigrant moment. An immigrant moment. What does it mean? When the immigrant speaks in the language of the country that she or he lives in, he or she made her home, and there is a slip in the pronunciation, or perhaps a grammar mistake, or there is a word lacking, there is a gap in her vocabulary. That's what's called an immigrant moment. And that is all these people want to see me by. Well, what do you think it creates long term? It creates sensation of isolation. And it does isolate me, and it has isolated me over the years. And I spoke about it before, that I often feel very much still till this day alienated in the streets of Toronto. That I feel very alienated and discriminated even in the potential of my career because of the way I speak, because of the way, because of the projections of all those people at me due to their, not even experiences, but ideas about Poles. It cannot be. We live in 21st century. And this is what we, for majority of the time, I, as a 10 years immigrant to Canada, experienced. That's my primary experience. Do you know how hard it is to build real friendships? Do you think that I don't have many friends. To make a friend with a typical Canadian female Toronto woman, it's so hard because of the stereotypes she carries in her head. And because another point, for some reason, Canadians in Toronto feel free to infantilizing and, as a result, educating the immigrants. They can teach us about how to be a Torontonian, how to be a Canadian, but they're not really willing to learn anything from us. And it's to the point of the absurd. 2 weeks ago, my mother was still visiting me in Toronto, and we had a lovely time, a blissful time. You can see the photos from that trip on my Instagram. And she was shocked, and for the first time she believed me when I had spoken about it over the phone, about the experiences as following. Me, my mother, and my son ended up on, that was an immigrant moment, forgive me. So me, my mother, and my son ended up in this cafeteria, in this coffee place on the north side of Roncesvalles. and it was raining outside. We had a lovely walk down and up Roncesvalles, which my mother really likes. And we went inside and we wanted to order a coffee. The gentleman behind the cash was taking his time, but I didn't say a word, even though we were wet and tired. I was so tired, we were walking for many hours. I gently slid my sandal off my foot, and it did a click onto the floor. I was just resting my feet. I wasn't smiling and I was tired. The guy from behind the cash desk turned around and said to me, no, you won't be rushing me up in my restaurant, lady. And I was shocked. I said, what do you mean? Don't you click your shoes on me? I started laughing and I said, I'm not clicking your shoes on you. I'm just tired. He was then continuing to teach me and educate me how I'm supposed to just relax and wait until he is ready. I didn't give in to this because I've experienced it so many times. I just pulled out $50, that's the cash I had on me, and I tried to order Americano. I heard, if you're just ordering my drink, I'm not gonna give you change to the $50. He didn't want to serve me, nor my mother, nor my child. At which we stood up and we left the place. So he was not only trying to educate me because of stereotypes in his head, he misread my behavior. He didn't like that I wasn't all smiles and maybe grateful that he's making a coffee for me. He essentially refused to serve me, using the argument that I should have ordered more, that his restaurant deserves bigger order, specifically if I want to pay with $50. Situations like that happen to me and other immigrants all the time. And once or twice, 10 times, 100 times, it's okay. But I am experiencing this, and we are experiencing it every day, all the time along our lives living in Canada, becoming Canadians, acquiring some Canadian habits and behaviors. Because ultimately the immigrant becomes something in between, that lovely combination of the old and the new. So to sum up, and I also spoke about it before, I am only seen through the prism of the way I speak, and I think also the way I look, because I present myself Polish and I love it and I'm proud of it. That's the first thing. Second thing, it never changes over the years. It never changes. It kind of creates this glass sort of circle, not only searing around us that isolates us from the rest of the society, and it's just very sad, but and traumatic, and it can lead to depression in immigrants. But even when we talk about growing depression in the country, nobody talks about the immigrant experience, particularly immigrants from Europe. That's just a subject that does not exist. And I believe it really should. Tell me what you think about it. Share your comments with me. I'm so looking forward to hearing from other immigrants about their experiences, but also from Canada-born Torontonians and other Canadians, what they think and feel about it. Have a great afternoon, and I talk to you next time. Bye-bye.